how did Kier himself accidentally lighten the mood?
Sausages instead of hostages.
So good.
Yeah.
I did feel for him because he gave a very long speech and I thought, no one will remember anything about that apart from he said, we're going to bring the sausages home.
Yeah.
I think what happened there is sometimes when I come on the television, my mates will be like, can you get the word unicycle in?
Which you just done.
James, you're only a tenner, mate.
Unicycle, I'll have a tenner as well.
I think what's happened here is his mate, Labour peer Wahid Ali, has gone, if you say sausages in your next speech, I'll give you 16 grand. And he knew that hostages was coming up and he saw an opportunity. That's what I think has happened.
It's a product placement, effectively. Sounds plausible.
Can I just say that the night Kier did that, I was doing an event with John McCarthy, who actually had been a hostage in Lebanon. And I thought, oh no, this is really bad taste. I don't know what's going to happen. John McCarthy stood up and said, as a former sausage...
Shall we have a look at the clip?
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages. The hostages.
It's so good.
Is this any connection with Liz Truss opening up new pork markets?
That is a disgrace.
Yes.
Now, that really is enough about the government's bad week. Oh, no, sorry. Andy Coulson. Where did he unexpectedly find himself this week?
In the back of a cop car heading to Scotland.
Because?
Because they want to have a word.
I had absolutely no idea that you were a gangster.
Andy Coulson.
He's been arrested for perjury.
Yes.
During a trial where someone else was on trial for perjury.
Yes.
While he was actually working for the Prime Minister, which is pretty shocking. Are you shocked, Alistair?
I'm shocked.
You. I'm glad you're shocked, because, you know, some of the people that this government have been hanging about with, Rebecca Brooks, know her at all?
I do.
Were you shocked when she was
shocked.
arrested?
I've been shocked by lots of things, Ian.
He's been charged, though, not just arrested.
Yeah.
He's been charged.
He's been charged.
Which is why Ian's being so careful.
Yeah.
About
we got
Andy
to
Coulson,
tiptoe
if not
around
about
this.
me.
Well, they haven't charged you yet.
Is it hot in here?
And in case anyone thinks I'm being gratuitous, I know that Alistair is going to be reasonable tonight, because he told Leveson, I am robust, but I'm not a bully. So no matter what anyone says, you're going to be really reasonable.
Tonight? No.
That's good, though, to remember. Like, if your kid gets caught, like, kicking a fat kid, just go, no, he's not a bully, just robust. He's robust.
It probably seemed like a good idea when you said yes.
What did the BBC get wrong?
This idea... so I run a company that trains veterans to go into cyber employment.
Yeah.
And 4 companies away from that, there's a company that's gone bust.
Yeah, it's not many companies. It's quite a big company. 4 people being arrested. Big story.
It's a big story, but it's got nothing to do with me.
You never...
Well, of course not.
Not
Why would I have
interested
anything
in
to
who
do with
provided your
financial
£85,000 salary?
Yes,
For a
and it was
4-hour
provided through business in that company that company generated. That
How
had
does
nothing
training
to do with us,
veterans make enough money to earn you 85
Because if you train them in cyber security, and they have specialist skills, they go into FTSE 100 companies and they earn quite a lot of money in cyber security. I sound like a right bastard, don't I, doing this whole sort of veterans employment thing?
No, it's not the veterans bit. It's the £85,000 for a 4-hour job.
I know. I know what you're thinking, because you're
I'm thinking, why don't you do it for free?
I know, because you get 20 grand for 2 hours tonight, don't you?
Yeah, but the people who've lost money out of this company are very cross with you. It's about your behaviour and the fact that you didn't know. and didn't ask, as a non-executive director, where does the money come from for this
I did ask
company?
where it came from, and it came from the business that's generated by the business that we do.
They were providing the money that kept your company going.
No, they
you were a
didn't.
non-exec.
No, they didn't. That's why the BBC are being sued for libel, because no money went from that company into Crucial Academy.
But it did, though.
OK, well, you can keep saying that, but it really didn't. It
No,
still
no,
didn't.
I'm just saying the chain...
This is one for Judge Rindo, I think.
Yeah. I am merely trying to establish the facts. You say you're going to sue the BBC for reporting a story that everybody else has run, and you say that's not how the money got there.
I am absolutely sure that not a single penny has come from LCF and gone into Crucial Academy. If it has,
Well,
I
it
would
hasn't
leave.
gone directly in. It's gone in through a series of
No,
other companies.
directly or indirectly. If it had, I would leave. Many
All
more?
right, well, we'll see what happens.
This is like all of my Christmas dinners with my family.
Remember Anne Widdecombe?
I'm sorry, David, it's a big story. 4 people were arrested, and I know you think that your political enemies have smeared you with this story, but
No, I
it
don't.
is there.
No, I don't.
It's in the news.
No, I don't think that. I don't think they have smeared me with this story.
But you have accused the Deputy Chief Whip of trying to dig up dirt.
The Deputy Chief Whip has decided to go and ask friends of mine that I served with in the military whether or not things in my book were correct, and obviously I found out, wasn't overly pleased. That book was signed off by the parents of individuals who were killed in that war and who fought with me and my soldiers, but obviously not good enough for the Deputy Chief Whip. And when I confronted him about it, he claimed that was his job, to kick the tyres. And when I spoke to my friend, who he had actually spoken to, he hadn't done anything like that at all. He'd tried to get some dirt and blackmail me to vote for the Prime Minister's deal in January.
That's why they did it, to try and force your vote?
Yeah.
Right.
Nice place, politics.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah. Why did I sign up?
Why did you?
Yeah.
Like Anne Widdecombe. Remember her?
Ian's team, a Swindon-based comedian who has been very open about suffering from a debilitating disorder, namely that he lives in Swindon. Please welcome John Richardson. And on Paul's team is one of the few politicians who knows what the future holds for him. A regular slot bantering with Jeff Stelling in Dictionary Corner. Please welcome Lembit Opik. Ian and John, take a look at this.
Queues.
Yeah, people wanting to vote.
Unmanageable turnout of 65%.
What do they think this is? South Africa? Get out of it! Now, that's the Lib Dem votes being chucked in the river. Off you go!
My votes, my votes.
That's someone explaining they haven't a clue. Goodbye to you. Go and watch a film, one of your husbands. Hello, Gordon. Well, the people have spoken, as Joe said, and they've said, I'm not sure.
We don't know any of you.
Oh, what about you? I don't know. No, it's very exciting. We've got a new Prime Minister, Gordon Brown. You've never voted for him before, and you didn't vote for him this time. So, democracy working pretty damn well, I think.
Does this mean this is going to carry on?
What, this show? God.
The whole I thought at least it would be finished this morning, but it's not, is it? It's going to be months of...
Months of it?
In some cases, it has.
It's good that you're not dwelling on it, though.
I'm completely over it.
After 19 years, is it? Presumably it's...
13 years and 4 days, roughly. I mean, I'm not counting, but...
Somebody was.
If I was Brown, and today I would just resign and then run naked through the streets of London going, you're the bigot, you're the bigot. Can't touch me now, bigots. But they're all still... They're trying to make friends, aren't they? They're trying to do a, hey... They're like passing notes on the news this morning going, tell Nick I think he's fit, Gordon.
It is indeed the overwhelmingly indecisive outcome of the election. In fact, we only know one result for sure. Don't we, Lembit?
Can we get on with this? I've actually got an appointment with the job centre in about half an hour. They phoned earlier, they cancelled.
What happened to Esther Ranson?
She lost.
She lost her
Her
deposit?
deposit. She lost her deposit, she did.
Good.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Well, someone has to say it, that's life. I know, no cigar for that one, sorry.
Right, now, everyone was hoping Ed Balls would provide a Portillo moment. Michael Portillo said this week, "My name is now synonymous with eating a bucket load of in public."
We will do these game shows. Haven't been on that one yet.
No. The offer will be coming, don't worry.
Or maybe not. I mean,
I do hope so.
Yeah, so do I.
That was the most depressing use of the word "yet" I've ever heard in my entire life.
Did you stay up for Lembit? It was. It's the most important thing that happened in the election.
Because?
It's quite funny.
I was expecting a bit more than that, wasn't you? Ladies and gentlemen, the great thing about losing my seat is I can actually take a fee for this now instead of getting this kind of abuse for nothing.
Do you want to do a rabble-rousing speech on behalf of our coalition?
I think what we offer is not them, basically. People are sick of you coming on here, making fun of the contestants, you know? Just because I'm having a bit of a hard time at the moment, lend us the price of a cup of tea, I'll give it back to you next week. I don't mean nothing, Governor. I've got me harmonica and can play that for you if you want. And I have. No, I have.
Gotta find some change.
I have.
Are we witnessing a mental breakdown?
You do the singing and I'll do the playing.
Before we go, there's just time for the caption competition. Ian and Kevin have this. Big dog and small dog. Let me finish. Let me finish, please.
You're on a roll, I'd leave it there.
Have lovely evening marred as food fails to show.
I prefer big dog and small dog.
Polar machine, get that.
Big panda and big panda.
Apparently the Lib Dems are nearly extinct. Oh, it's too late for that.
And here's a bonus one for you all.
Oh.
The Empire Strikes Bake. We're just bodyguards, don't you think? To protect her from being stolen by Channel 4. They've got Imperial stormtroopers surrounding Mary at all moments. Paul Hollywood, little droid. Mary.
You're having one of your turns again, Ian.
Yeah.
You wanted me to point it out the next time it happened, do you remember?
Thanks, sorry.
He gets a nosebleed when he starts dealing with popular culture.
Miller's resignation attracted the usual bunch of renter quotes. What we've seen is a Prime Minister who clearly is totally disconnected with how the voters in Britain feel about MPs' expenses. That was Nigel Farage. The same Nigel Farage who in 2009 revealed that as an MEP he'd claimed in expenses £2 million of taxpayers' money.
And who was it? Who was it that brought up the issue of £2 million and me and taxpayers' money? Dennis McShane.
Yeah, he's in jail, but you're not.
Yes, I had noticed that.
Good.
Yes, well, as a tax-funded MEP, Nigel Farage is an equal opportunities employer. Some of our money has gone to his wife and some to his mistress. Or have I got that wrong?
That is allegedly, don't you? I think that is allegedly.
We can set the record straight right now.
Yeah, I think it is. I think you ought to say allegedly, quite honestly.
Can I say, as a member of the press, I think, you know, actors really are in need of a royal charter. I mean, that sort of allegation is pretty distressing. Is it true?
No, afraid not.
Not true at all?
Not true at all.
Any of the good bits?
There are good bits.
I'll tell you afterwards.
Right.
Well, let's have a look, shall we, at some of those revelations. Here is Nikki Sinclair, a former UKIP MEP, now representing the We Demand a Referendum party in the European Parliament. Take a close look at the reaction of the translator in the bottom left corner of the screen.
Does Mr Farage think it's a fair use of taxpayers' money, namely his secretarial allowance, not only to employ his wife Kirsten, but his former mistress Annabel Fuller? Is this a responsible use of taxpayers' money, Mr Farage?
I would just say this to you, Chairman. This is somebody who hid under the cloak of parliamentary privilege to make those comments, and when asked to repeat them, publicly refused to do so.
Quite funny, though.
David Cameron was very rude about your people, wasn't he, Nigel?
Oh, he always is.
Yes, he said...
He can't help himself.
He can't help himself. He said
No,
they were all
fruitcakes
and loonies.
And loonies, and
Yes.
worse. He said worse than that.
He did, right.
Extremists.
Extremists?
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time... I think it's time for a game of Fruitcake or Looney. OK, everyone, fingers on your buzzers. I'll show you some UKIP party members. You have to buzz in and tell me whether they're a fruitcake or a loony. Here's the first one.
I don't know who he is.
Ian.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Fruitcake.
I'm afraid that's the wrong answer. He's a loony. He's a would-be UKIP councillor and loony John Sullivan, who wrote, "Regular physical exercise releases boys' tensions and thus avoided homosexuality." Which is quite right, Mr Sullivan, and that's why you'll never see a gay man down the gym. Fingers on buzzers, here's your next one. Nigel Farage, UKIP party.
This is a bit tricky, this one, because he's the treasurer and one of our biggest donors. And I wouldn't really like to call Stuart Wheeler either. I'll have to go for Fruitcake.
Is the correct answer. You got it right. Yes. This is UKIP party treasurer Stuart Wheeler and Fruitcake, who said that women had no place in the boardroom and couldn't compete with men at sports, even when they're not physically disadvantaged. He said, chess, bridge, poker, women come absolutely nowhere. I think that just has to be borne in mind. Final go, Fruitcake or Looney?
I don't know the chat.
No, anyone?
I'm going to go for Looney.
It's the wrong answer. It's actually a trick question. He's not a fruitcake nor a loony. He's a closet racist. At a public meeting about travellers, he said, "The Romanians, they'll stick a knife in you as soon as look at you." His name is Rob Fraser.
Well, thanks for telling me.
Well, there you go. UKIP supporter.
Nice chap, buys his round. Look at the top pledge on the top. We will invade Iraq against the wishes of the people of Britain.
Yeah, but it was Miliband who stopped the invasion into Syria. That's something for him, isn't it? I haven't heard you say much about that.
No, because I'm more interested in the previous one, which
Well,
you
they
were
were wrong.
involved in.
And we made it clear that so we made a mistake. There's no doubt about that. But give Miliband the credit for stopping us doing the same thing with Syria.
OK,
because Cameron was about to get to do it with the Americans.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that. No, Obama
You just don't work about it or talk about it. Anyway, that's the difference between us.
Yeah.
Should we start again?
But you say
I don't think so.
that the manifesto will only just come out, so the candidate can't be expected to know what's in it. Is the manifesto meant to be a massive surprise to Labour candidates?
No, but when you get... Well, in our party, you have to get it through the National Executive, and we have a policy making for the manifesto. You don't know necessarily what's coming through. I think some great things have come through, particularly when we're dealing with the Leveson report and what are we going to do about making the press more accountable.
Yes,
That's quite important.
You're going to legislate, aren't you?
What we said about that, we will carry out what Leveson said. We wait to see the press...
Leveson said nothing about a royal charter. He didn't mention it.
I would have thought you, as a journalist, might find that's an important point.
No, as a journalist, it's an unimportant point.
Oh, blimey, you blimey. In private eye, you're sued every day, for God's sake, for what you say about people.
No, we're not. And
This is
certainly
Johnny.
not about you. I know you've got problems with the press and your private life, John.
I think the last time you raised it, you got the same move. Why don't you be more specific and say it? Usually straightforward in private eye. What's your complaint?
OK, you're very, very unhappy about the press's intrusion into your private life because they
No,
revealed you were
never
having an affair
complained
with
about
Tracy
it at
Temple.
all.
And it was very embarrassing for you.
No, it wasn't.
God, it wasn't embarrassing.
No, I made a mistake. I owned up to it publicly, and I was waiting for this one
You
to come
didn't own
from
up
you.
to it publicly. You were revealed
I've
as
got an
doing
idea.
it.
Hey,
I've got an idea.
I did it at
Why
the
don't you
Labour
two find a
conference.
room?
Didn't you watch
You two
that?
find a room, and whoever comes out alive is the winner.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
It's a death stare. He gave you a death stare.
It depends who's ordering the room service, I suppose, doesn't it, John?
This is like a terrible family Christmas.
He's kind of the main act. What did you make of his speech?
Well, I mean, again, he's quite competent. He doesn't mess up the autocue. He got some applause. He did some stuff in the middle. He quoted Kipling, the poet, not the cake maker.
Don't patronise me! To be fair, I always thought it was pronounced kapling.
It's National Poetry Day today, isn't it?
Is it?
I think it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is.
Well, not tomorrow, obviously, when we're showing, so that ruins that.
This isn't live!
It's barely breathing.
How did you feel about him having a go at your friend Jeremy Corbyn, Diane?
Well, it's certainly not the kinder, gentler politics.
He did say in his speech of Jeremy Corbyn, he said, "My friends, we cannot let that man inflict his security-threatening, terrorist-sympathising, Britain-hating ideology on the country we love." This was in reference to an interview Corbyn gave in 2011 where he said it was a tragedy bin Laden had been assassinated rather than tried in an international court. BBC News didn't mention that nuance in their coverage of Cameron's speech because they've still got a licence fee to defend.
When he said Margaret Thatcher did great hurt to the British people, although not as much as all those bombs, eh, Jerry? All right, Jerry, any time! Straight between your gizzard!
I thought we politically moved on from issuing threats to former members of the IRA.
Well, the BBC also interviewed Maggie's biggest fan and disciple, Tony Blair. Did you see his tribute? He said, very few leaders get to change the landscape of not just their own country, but of the world. I mean, well, he certainly changed the landscape of Baghdad. I'm sorry, Tony, I'm sorry about that, because he had a heart operation, once he had ablation.
Well, he had one put in.
Did he have one put in? And now, Lord Howe of Aberavon was asked... I'm not going to say that again.
Yeah, go on.
I'm not, Aberavon...
It sounds like you're drowning in a bath.
was asked by Sky for his thoughts on his time in Thatcher's cabinet. And he said, it was a long time ago. Well, yes, that's the idea when someone dies, Geoffrey. A bit of reminiscing about old stuff. Come on, shape up!
I think you're in safer ground attacking Geoffrey Howe than you were with Jerry Adams.
Did you hear about Julian Stiles? According to the Mirror, Julian, 58, was made redundant from his factory job in 1984. I've been waiting for that witch to die for 30 years, he said. Tonight is party time. I'm drinking one drink for every year I've been out of work. 30 years? Without a job? Pull your finger out, Julian, you lazy bastard! I'll kill you, you bastard!
Let's abandon this show. Brian says, who wants a fight? Line up in alphabetical order. Adams, you're first.
Yeah, it's the news that Donald Trump is now a convicted felon.
Yeah, I just said that.
You didn't say how the Daily Star said it. They've got away with words. Orange man baby is guilty on all counts.
Did anyone see that thing when it said, I have 34 charges? 34. No president has had that many. To be clear, it's not a good thing, is it, being charged?
Do you think he's going to jail, Jack?
He possibly could. I know that if he does, he will be permitted a security brief. He'll have what's known as a ring of steel, which he'll need in prison, I imagine. You know, in all the films, when the new person comes into the prison, you get all the other prisoners at their bars going, new meat, fresh meat. They all come together,
Isn't there a thing they do every year with the president on Thanksgiving Day? He has to sort of like pardon a turkey. Yeah. Wouldn't that be funny if he had to do that from his prison cell? You're free!
34 counts of fraud. He could get 4 years in prison for each count. How long could he get, Carol?
136.
Correct. Very good, she's still got it.
This is the news that a number of female mayors has, for the first time, overtaken the number of mayors called Andy. So, what did nobody see coming?
Well, everybody saw a Tory rout coming, and it was indeed a Tory rout. They lost 500 councillors. They lost the West Midlands mayoralty. They lost the Blackpool South by-election. And they lost their passion for life, Bill.
And at the end of the evening, the Lib Dems had won more councillors than the Tories. Now, that's bad.
And they had a sort of defection as well, didn't they? Yeah.
They did.
Natalie Elphicke.
Yes, let's have a look. Yeah, there she is.
At the last minute, just before Prime Minister question time, she defected. She crossed the floor, which is amusing because she's the MP for Dover and she's used to people crossing her.
And also, she was about as welcome as a surprise visit from Matt Hancock.
Well, you sound like you're speaking from experience, sir.
A lady never kisses and tells.
No.
It's time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, Ratitude. The magazine of the North of England Rat Society. For northerners who don't find pigeons dirty enough. And we start with, Putin is what, says author?
Great bloke and I want to live.
Yeah.
Is it gay?
The answer is latently gay, says author. A new biography of Vladimir Putin speculates that he might be latently gay. The biographer is not the first to make this claim. The idea that President Putin is latently has been put forward by a number of recently deceased psychologists. Next, chimps take what?
Is it the fucking piss?
The answer is chimps take their owners to court.
No, they don't.
This is the story of a court case in New York in which 4 chimpanzees are seeking to be recognised as humans. The complexities of the chimpanzees' case have left legal experts scratching their heads, rubbing their asses on ropes and eating things from behind each other's ears. Next, from a rat PR point of view, what was very negative?
The bubonic plague.
No, it's the name Red-Eyed Devil. Next, Chinese girl had what in her ear?
British Prime Minister talking patronisingly. Got a flower in her head.
It was a fully grown dandelion. A doctor tried to remove it by blowing, but all that happened was he found out it was 3 o'clock. Next, what was high at Thirsk Rat Show?
Sexual tension.
The body count. It was an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah. The safety officer. Looks all right to me. Just duck the rats on it. Good stuff.
The overall standard of ears was... Next, clown epidemic what?
Relatively easy to spot.
Clown epidemic in Norfolk, warned police. Police in Norfolk have warned of an epidemic of people dressed as clowns. clowns are actually fairly easy to capture because they tend to have extremely unreliable getaway cars. Finally, what can add an element of aggression into the relationship which can backfire?
Drunken fighting amongst priests.
You bastard! You call that a wedding?
It's shouting at a rat. What? The last time I had a rat backfire was when I stuck a firework up it. I'm just joking, obviously. It was a kitten.
I've never watched an election a U.S. election unfold overnight from London, from watching the BBC overnight. And that's the way, if you want to watch America go down the dumper, watch it through the befuddled nocturnal fog of a man named Andrew Neil. Watching a man, he's just barely on top of everything. And he just sits there, and you had other people beside him. He looks like he's squeezed in like this. And then when they're not there, he still looks like he's squeezed in. Like his body's trying to eject itself. And he comes out, and he's trying to explain the Electoral College, and he doesn't quite, nobody quite gets it, because it's impossible to explain, and it just, somebody's got to get it 270. And now you're watching his scoreboard at a bowling alley, and then finally they give up, and they just bring out this guy who just dances on a map. He just he dances on a map, and he's trying to show all the states with his feet. He's going like, oh, there's Wisconsin, and there's Ohio, and oh, there's a red state turning blue. Oh, I mean, Christ. Trump is becoming president, and the guy's playing Twister. And then finally, you know, there's just at the top of Andrew Neil's head, spray-on thatch thing. And comes back up at 6:30 and says, Trump's president, and great. Trump's president, I'm watching an acorn talk to me.
The longest TV review I've ever heard. The basic problem is he's confusing the role of President of America with 1970s light entertainment comedian at the BBC. And the fact that everyone's tolerated him up to this moment, suddenly they've said, well, look, Donald Trump, he's awful. How could we have told? I mean, he's been campaigning for months and months, and we've never had any indication that he might be thoroughly ghastly in any number of ways. I mean, how were we to know? This is unfair.
At what point was it not ludicrous that the presenter of The Apprentice in America could become the Commander-in-Chief? It's like saying the presenter of Have I Got News for You could become Foreign Secretary.
I'm sure that loyalty will be rewarded.
It's anonymous hackers. Are they anonymous? I don't know where they're from.
No, we do know where they're from.
Are they from? Where are they from?
They are from North Korea, it turns out.
Has that been proven?
Not totally proven. But they're not going to sue me, so I think it probably is North Korea. There's something in the code when it was unhacked indicated that it might have been from North Korea.
Giles, you know way too much about this.
Only because I did chair the Cybersecurity Awards quite recently. I can't tell you where or when.
Is that security or Alzheimer's?
You know what the virus was called? It was called WannaCry. It demands money before you can get your computer files back.
Oh, it was all in Bitcoins as well.
Bitcoins?
Bitcoins.
No, we've left the European market. They're Bitcoins.
There's been a sort of failure of the government here, hasn't there? Or?
They were warned, I mean, at least 3 years ago, that XP needed updating. But the trouble with the NHS, it spent a lot of money on IT already, about 12 billion, for a system that didn't work. So essentially it doesn't have any money left, so they didn't pay for the update.
We've not upgraded the security properly, and we've been running the NHS on Windows XP, so people have probably been told that they're dying by a helpful paperclip.
I like the idea that as a hacker, you would target for a ransom the NHS.
Yeah.
One of the few world organisations you know doesn't have any money.
Probably given Jeremy Hunt some ideas about how to get money out of it. What must it be like being Jeremy Hunt at the moment? Imagine he goes into hospital. He'll be the first person to have a sprained wrist treated anally. Sorry, Mr. Hunt, this is going to involve a bit of a run-up. Luckily, our computers are down, so there's no record of what's about to happen to you.
This bit of malware was actually stolen from the American National Security Association, you know, which is a misnomer.
Well, I think President Trump gave it away.
Does anyone know what the Russians have said about it?
That's what
Exactly that.
Well, they're claiming it's not them, because the Russian Interior Ministry was targeted.
That was a decoy.
You're so clever, Giles.
These are just things I picked up at the cybersecurity conference.
The Russians have said this completely doesn't concern Russia.
And so to round two, the strengthometer of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's the first one.
It's the London Marathon. There was a row with the Guinness Book of Records about whether this nurse should get a record for doing the shortest time dressed as a nurse. And Guinness said she doesn't look like a nurse, because I think the people at Guinness had perhaps been watching different videos of nurses than the training ones now on offer. And she rightly appealed this, and she now is the quickest nurse in the business. I mean, this is your area, so, I mean, you must know.
Well, yes, it is my area, kind of.
You held
Obviously
your
not running. I did do a walk from Hull to Liverpool for sport relief. Yeah, that was pretty amazing, because that was like 20 miles a day for a week. And they did tell me that I would burn 6,000 calories a day. Unfortunately, I ate 9,000 a day. This nurse is called Jessica Anderson, and you were right. She was wearing trousers, OK? As you said, she was ineligible, because that's
she was wearing
not
scrubs,
what...
wasn't
Scrubs,
she?
that's right, yeah. According to Guinness, the guidelines said a proper nurse's uniform should include a pinafore and a cap. When did they write those rules? 1850s? Actually, the Daily Mail helpfully provided us with a photo of a marathon-running nurse that falls within Guinness guidelines. Here we are. What actually made them change their mind about her world record?
Well, didn't she appeal?
She did. She pointed out the inherent sexism, and they released a statement saying, our guidelines were outdated, incorrect, and reflected a stereotype we do not in any way wish to perpetuate, even though they just did. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Am I meant to be doing this again? I've kind of...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we've still got a bit more of this, haven't we? Thanks, Paul.
No, we like seeing it.
Oh, what? Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
that was completely out of sync.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Hang on.
Hang on.
No.
That was quite bad.
That was quite bad. You'd have to do it all again.
This is a shambles.
Hang
We might
on.
as well be
What's going on,
politicians.
Steve? We can't replace her now. What are you talking about? Too late. Put the hammer down.
My husband often says that to me. OK. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
This is a story about someone who stole a piece of Stonehenge. And you'd have thought they would have noticed. I mean, look, there he is.
Yeah.
Wasn't very subtle about it. He kept it and he took it to America, and he's finally returned it because after all these decades, he's got bored of a bit of stone.
His name's Robert Phillips. He stole it in the 1950s when a restoration team drilled metal supports into some of the stones to keep them in position. He's just turned 90. Kept it as a memento. Why is he returning it after 60 years?
Was he sick of cars slowing down in front of his house to have a look?
He was worried about what would happen to it after his death. The sarsen stone... Don't ask me what a sarsen stone is, it just says it's a type
one of the stones. They're different types. The standing ones and sarsen ones. And
top ones.
What a dork.
You're not denying it.
That's a completely different type of stone, which is around the perimeter.
Do you like Stonehenge?
I love Stonehenge. I used to go there when you could go up there and help in the building.
What?
OK, so there's a couple died it out, like it's Jamie Oliver, who we've just mentioned. Yes, he's...
restaurants are all shutting.
All restaurants are all shutting down. Jamie Oliver's restaurants have closed. They've gone into receivership, I believe.
That's it. Jamie Oliver blamed the company's collapse on the well-publicised struggles of the casual dining sector and decline of the UK high street, along with soaring business rates. How do you think the Sunday Times food critic Marina O'Loughlin described Jamie's tagliatelle?
Presumably not in complimentary terms.
Load of old shit.
Almost exactly so. She described the tagliatelle with truffles at the Jamie's in Westfield Stratford as a honking, salty swamp of a sauce, brown and dusty with nutmeg. Tiny chunks, not shavings, of tasteless black truffle lurk around like mouse poos in soup.
Brown and dusty with nutmeg is my Tinder bio.
But what did Peter Shilton have to say on the matter?
I mean, I don't know how we ever cave unless we know what Peter Shilton one time goalkeeper's got to say.
Peter Shilton posted a sympathetic tweet. Sorry to hear Jamie Oliver restaurants have gone into liquidation. I went with my wife and grandkids to one, and I had a steak with a sauce I specially requested, which was great. So that's nice. Jamie will appreciate that, Peter. That's lovely. But he added, but the kids had pasta, which they love, but couldn't eat as it was so bad. What recent trend may have affected the business, according to the food writer William Sitwell?
More people getting food delivered?
He said, the cost of dining has persuaded more people to cook at home and flirt with meal kits.
What's a meal kit?
It's what posh people who think that they've got no time get a load of stuff delivered to their door with, like, the right amount of spices in and then, like, pretend that they're really good at cooking because they just put things in together that had arrived on their door. It's a massive waste and a total nonsense.
Well, that is new. I thought a meal kit was a tin and a tin opener.
Do you still get truffles in tins? When did you last open a tin, for God's sake? Ordinary remark to make on public television.
What did one member of staff accidentally serve to diners in Manchester this week?
Expensive, very expensive bottle of wine.
How expensive?
Oh, like, I don't know, like £3,000 or something like that?
Even £4,500?
Yes.
Diners at the Hawksmoor restaurant, they'd ordered a bottle of red wine. It was quite expensive. They were given that. According to the Times, the error wasn't spotted until it had already been partially drunk. I bet they necked the rest pretty quickly. Yeah. The owner of the restaurant tweeted, to the member of staff who accidentally gave it away, chin up. One-off mistakes happen and we love you anyway. Adding, goodbye. When people online questioned who would pay £4,500 for a bottle of wine, the steakhouse replied, in this case, quite literally no one. Who dropped in to help Sainsbury's celebrate their 150th anniversary?
Queen.
It was the Queen. Should we have a look?
Yeah.
Queen went and did, like, a self-service checkout.
She wasn't into 6 items or less thing. So do anything nice for the weekend?
Let's see the Queen in the supermarket.
I love the fact that was her first reaction. Yeah. She saw through the system.
Yeah. To be fair, that's how she got the Koh-i-Noor, by putting it through as a courgette.
This is the demise of Jamie's Italian. Trying to explain the collapse of the restaurant chain, the manager of one Jamie's Italian said, things are fairly hard. I think he means al dente. One person affected by the collapse of Jamie's Italian was former England goalkeeper Peter Shilton, who tweeted that he'd enjoyed a steak there, but his grandchildren had pasta, which they loved but couldn't eat as it was so bad. Mind you, Peter Shilton's never liked tagliatelle, linguine or ravioli, as they all scored against him at Italia 90.
The Telegraph, thousands of people lining the streets have given the relay a carnival feel. For example, someone dressed as a cod and another as a chip in Falmouth. You Brits really know how to put on a show.
You wait till you see our opening ceremony.
There'll be hundreds of chips.
6 or 7 cod.
Morris in a giant cod costume.
This is the Olympic torch, which is boldly going where no Olympic torch has gone before. Namely, yes, I agree with you. Namely, Turo and Il Fracum.
Sounds deeply sexual. Kind of like a cigar advert.
Have you been to Il Fracum?
I have.
The place is laced with prostitution.
That's their new slogan now.
That's right. Come and get laid in Il Fracum.
According to the Daily Telegraph, under a no-deal Brexit, British holidaymakers would be banned from taking Cornish pasties with them to the EU. Holidaymakers will be forced to smuggle the food past customs officials.
You might not want to eat it after you've smuggled it past customs officials.
Well, this is the question. If you were forced to smuggle a Cornish pasty through customs, how would you do it?
I know.
Go on in.
Under both breasts, I can get 2 Cornish pasties, 2 bottles of iron brew and a sausage dug.
Any answers on your side?
We can't compete with that. We haven't
Can't.
worked out why you'd want to take a Cornish pasty to Europe.
You might enjoy a Cornish pasty. It might always be a family tradition to have a Cornish pasty on holiday.
Oh, in Brittany?
Yeah.
And I can keep them warm all the way.
Well, that is the important thing.
Yes. This menopause is not going to waste.
However, Ed Balls was remaining optimistic.
Mr. Balls, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, there's been this story going the rounds on Twitter and all the rest of it that you've been defeated. Have you heard anything about your result yet or not?
David, the ballot boxes haven't even arrived in the count. And they've got to be counted and then we'll get the results. So I think maybe you should spend less time on Twitter and more time reporting the results when they're actually declared.
Let's just see how
That's
it
the
panned
Shadow
out
Chancellor.
It's so good of him to explain the whole process. They get the votes in and then they count them. Well, thank you, Ed. Thank you for your insight, you little expert.
He's an economist. He's good with figures.
Should we see how it panned out for him?
Ed Balls, in the last few minutes, as Shadow Chancellor, lost his seat to the Conservatives.
Is that an R?
No. No, I think
this
some
is
people
the
would...
Shadow Chancellor.
No, some people were genuinely surprised, I think. There were some people who didn't know.
I'm sorry. I thought it was a wave of empathy.
Is David Dimbleby going to call him and go, have they been counted now, Ed?
Who might be particularly delighted with the timing of the election announcement?
Paula Venables from the post office, because she was up in the inquiry and it blasted her off the front pages and she would have got an absolute shellacking.
That's right, former Post Office head honcho and national sweetheart, Paula Venables.
She cried 4 times for herself. It was a really disgraceful performance. And I think, yeah, it was appalling. She said things like, I didn't know that they were prosecuting these people when I took over. And you think, that just isn't true. It's all lies. I mean, she is now in the inquiry trying to blame her colleagues, which is the entire point of the inquiry, is that she's already blamed people who didn't do it in an attempt to cover herself, and now she's doing it again.
I also just don't understand how you can come and take over an organisation where suddenly, out of nowhere, after a new computer system comes in, 1 in 12 people that work from you has got their hands in the till and you never previously noticed, even though they worked for you for 30 years before that.
And you work for the Tory party.
I know! Right?
But if what is happening is that the amount of money that you claim they've stolen is returned to the post office and then you take it out as a bonus, which they did, that's straightforward theft.
I was going to call it corruption.
That's worse than that.
Is it worse than corruption? OK.
Ryan Giggs has spent an awful lot of money to ensure that he's become world famous for stuff other than football.
Yeah.
But people still might be sued for telling people that it was him. So.
Yeah, well, that's right. The MP, John Hemming, he said that apparently 75,000 people named Ryan Giggs on Twitter. It's not possible to arrest them all. Well, I mean, it's worth a go, though, isn't it? I mean, well, the thing is, the injunction is still in place.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Despite the people keep going blabbing it out, there's a legal expert, Joshua Rosenberg.
Yeah.
This is what he had to say about it, right?
Well, the law is clear. There is still a court order in force which says that we can't name Ryan Giggs as the person who brought these proceedings.
I'm pleased we can say his name, though, because I was getting so fed up. Every newspaper, every day, it was like, Imogen Thomas has been having sexual liaisons with a man who cannot be named. It's like, what, Voldemort?
Yeah.
I sort of see why he did it as well, Ryan Giggs, because you get the super injunction. He knows that if his identity was known, then people would know not only who he was, but also that his marriage was on the rocks. And at that point, John Terry would be round his house like a sex-crazed whippet.
Yes, the worst-kept secret in Britain is finally out. Lawyers are a complete waste of money. As the row unfolded, thousands of Twitter users named Ryan Giggs in what the Daily Mail called one of the biggest acts of civil disobedience in modern times. Top that, Syria, lightweights.
Someone was tweeting, it was a thing like kind of vintage nostalgia, and it was saying, do you know the name of my first pet was Rosie? I wonder what the name of your first pet was, everyone. And then people started joining in and giving the name of their first pet, which of course is a security question for your bank. You know, it's literally, it's like saying, I'll tell you what my PIN number is, 1471. Anyone got one higher than that? I wonder what it is.
Yeah. 1471.
The thing I find astonishing, though, is that with all this data theft about, my Wikipedia entry's still full of lies.
Mine once said I was Oprah Winfrey's nephew.
My entry says that I'm a collector of antique cutlery. And some very nice old lady sent a load of spoons to my office the other day. And I said, why she sent me a load of spoons? And then it turned out it was because she'd read my entry on Wiki and found this stuff in her attic and just sent it to me. So actually, I collect Porsches.
Ian and Nancy, how they look at this?
That's a Tory MP.
Mhm.
You can tell they're all like that. That's a Labour MP.
Yeah.
That's Tom Watson. Ah, Murdoch's been arrested. He's in the slammer. Bye-bye. And they can't bear to look.
Because
It's so
they can't bear
sad.
to look. Yes, they are very sad.
So that's it. Big news. Murdoch's inside. And he's...
Not strictly true.
No, it isn't, is it? I was suddenly in the world of fantasy. There's been a select committee, and they delivered their report. And they said that Murdoch was willfully blind. And they said his son was willfully ignorant about the phone hacking and what was going on in News International. So it was a really bad day for the Murdochs.
Yeah, I think there are some important questions to be answered by all of Rupert Murdoch's employees.
I think there are.
Yeah, so here we go. What do you think about it, Jeremy? Well, I think as a Sun journalist, it's just a lot of stuff and nonsense and a storm in a teacup. So there we are, moving on. Paul?
I thought you were talking to me there when you said, what do you think, Jeremy? I thought you just forgot my name.
You're not the only Sun journalist. Nancy writes for The Sun.
On the Sunday, a column about fashion. Now, I can't believe myself when I accepted.
You shocked yourself, did you?
Actually, I shocked myself many times. Yes, every day, even a shock was when I walked in the mirror in the morning. I can surprise everyone getting beautiful and beautiful every day. So,
Do we have any English guests on this?
Now, don't start. Do you need an interpreter?
Yeah.
OK, I'll translate. Nancy was really ashamed of herself for taking money from Murdoch.
Yeah.
Is that not it? You know, there's a shortage of court interpreters in this country. I think I might apply.
Why do you think you speak the perfect English?
Do I think I speak perfect English? These things are relative. But I don't speak 5 languages, unlike you, so,
Thank you.
I'm just trying to be helpful.
Stop flirting! You did actually once say, didn't you, that any man who doesn't flirt with you must be gay?
Yes, I said.
Ian, you passed.
And he said he didn't say it, and then the policeman came out and said he won't answer the question. But he had a tape going in which he said, I admit I swore, and I'm sorry about that.
He was wearing a wire. And the feds didn't realise. He turned the tables against them. Well, how long did the original incident actually last, the actual incident?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. And so far it's cost...
£250,000
Yes, it has. Yes.
to investigate.
Can we get the Chinese pay for that?
160 million people in China watched it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But they must really not have liked him. There must have been a build-up of animosity towards him.
Yeah, do you think he'd ridden up to the gates most days and said, open it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe...
Clapping his hands. Open, come on! Bike here, eco!
You know, it's a terrible dilemma. Do you believe a Tory member of the cabinet or a policeman? You know, public's got a real problem there.
Police whistleblower has actually come forward. You mentioned that.
They're all
about talking about a
whistleblowers,
result.
They're all whistleblowers. They all blow whistles.
I don't think they do anymore, do they?
OK, logically it doesn't work.
Mobile phone. When this show began, you could have done that joke. I don't mean today, I mean 20 years ago.
I felt tense because you went very quiet. And I thought, oh, God, I've cut across a friend of Tom Cruise's.
Well, a whistleblower has come forward with the result of a plot to get Mitchell. And he says that Mitchell had a row at the gates the previous evening as well, after which one of the officers had said, right, we can stitch him up. I love the idea that they actually said it like you would in the Beano.
19.